Is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about. Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
3, 2, Welcome to DBL. It's Thursday, March 11th. I'm Jeff here with my friends, Stephanie and Al. Oi, oi, Steph.
Hello.
Like, what do you want me to do with that?
Every day I walk in the studio and I'm greeted with, well, it's just general gibberish. Oh, yeah, Lord, that's a cup of tea. I don't know why it's always shouting.
That's how you grew up?
I'm like, yeah, apparently I lived in some kind of barn with animals that spoke to me like that because I don't know anyone else
She understands.
that does.
Like when my little one talks, no one really understands but his parents. When I shout at Steph, she's like, I'm doing fine, Jeff, thank you.
I know,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm good. I'm getting my tea. Life is good.
All right, well, thank you for that, Steph. That was my roll into another British story.
I see.
Prince William made his first public comments about Meghan and Harry's bombshell interview with Oprah. So the prince responded to allegations that his family is racist. Let's have a look.
Sir, have you spoken to your brother since the interview?
No, I haven't spoken to him yet, but I will do.
And can you just let me know, is the royal family a racist family, sir?
No, we're very much not a racist family.
Meantime, there are reports that the Queen will personally take charge of the royal family's response and will reach out to Harry and Meghan to try and resolve the situation. And a new poll out on how Brits feel about Meghan and Harry's interview. Let's take a look at that. 50% of Brits think it'll ultimately hurt the couple. 40% believe the couple failed to live up to their responsibilities, and nearly 60% think it's time to stop obsessing over the royal family. Which is, I'm part of that 60%. But where were you at, Steph? What do you think about these polls?
I agree with one. I mean, obviously all eyes on the royal family right now, and I believe that very much in America, Americans are more obsessed with the royals than maybe the British are, because we've grown up with a monarchy. That's never been a thing here. And you've got to think about this. Our Meghan is the Americans' princess.
Right.
She's the only chance of royalty that you guys have ever had, you know, so I see why Americans are so rooting behind her. But in England, they're very much behind the monarchy that they've grown up with, and they see that, rightly or wrongly, as a threat. So they don't like seeing, you know, the family being broken apart. They're our mascots, you know?
Yeah, in a sense.
So I understand that they see that, but I mean, obviously, the allegations that Meghan has said, that how she's feeling, how she's been treated is despicable, and it needs to be addressed immediately. I'm surprised it's taking this long for us to hear more.
And I think it needs to be addressed too. When I say 60%, you know, kind of want to let it go and don't obsess over it, I'm talking about the whole situation. We've been covering this for a week straight every day now. So my view of it is Meghan Markle and Prince Harry don't want to be in the spotlight. That's why they left the monarchy to kind of do their own thing, which is ironic that they did an interview with Oprah. That's a different story. But my whole thing is they want to be left alone. So why is a media source, us being our show, why don't we leave them alone and let them be and stop obsessing? Why are Americans so obsessed with this story?
Because 2 billion people watched the wedding. That's why.
Good answer.
Look, it's all about, like, we like to say what we care about, but the numbers show what we care about. And people around the world, don't forget, the British had an empire, and that empire is still connected to them, still connected to that way of life. And so people from all over the world, that's why cricket is so popular all over the world. That's y'all.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think when we ask that question, we have to understand that, like, everybody goes, oh, why do people care about the Kardashians? Because they have 50 million followers, because they do. So that's why we're talking about them. But as it relates to this story, it makes me think strangely, Jeff, and you'll love this. This is about sports. Don't freak out, our producers. I'm going to talk about sports on Access. There's a famous quarterback. His name is Andrew Luck, and he retired early because of injuries. And everybody called him every name under the sun, attacking his manhood, saying, why could you walk away from this? And finds out he's spleen injuries, terrible injuries from football. But I think people have issues when people leave their dream job. So I wanted to be a princess my whole life, and you walked away from it. I hate you for that.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a quarterback. I didn't have the talent, and you're just walking away from millions. I hate you from that.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's so polarizing, because you feel almost slighted that these people were given your dream, and they don't appreciate it as much as you think you would have.
We've seen an uprising in people saying, you know, what's Meghan's problem? You know, she was a princess. They're rich. They can't have mental health issues. They can't be suicidal because they've got everything. They're so privileged, you know? So I think that's part of, like, what you said when you related it, obviously.
And
like,
about the IGTV mental health campaign. Tell us about that really quickly.
Oh, so you know, with the network that that was with Piers Morgan, and he's obviously stormed off and left in the middle of the drama, which I think, you know, there's been multiple people at that have been interviewed by Piers predominantly women, to be honest, that have come forward also and said he made me feel in such a way that I didn't want to live anymore. One being Jamelia Jamil. We saw Caroline Flack, another host off the same network, commit suicide in February last year. And so I think Piers has been incredibly insensitive, and that he rightly should have gone, I think. I think he went too far, and I think in terms of cancel culture, he cancelled himself. It was nothing to do with like Meghan and her story. He piggybacked off that to try and get himself ratings, and the only one that suffered now is him.
I agree. So from your royal family to ours, we have some updates on some celebrity splits. First, Page 6 is reporting that Kim and Kanye, did you like that there?
Oh,
That
yeah.
transition? You mentioned it earlier, aren't talking to each other during their divorce. Kanye allegedly changed his phone number and told Kim she could only contact him through his security. The two are continuing to co-parent and with their 4 kids, but Kanye only shows up at the house when Kim is out. So meantime, it looks like Adele won't be paying spousal support to her ex Simon. Their divorce was finalized last week. The former couple also agreed to joint custody of their 8-year-old son. Let's go back to Kim and Kanye a little bit. I'm going to go back to Kim and Kanye. You guys could go where you want. How are you supposed to co-parent if you aren't on speaking terms? Isn't it kind of difficult, Al?
Gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I'm divorced. Right. And so, it's not fun at first, but Steph, I'm sure they have this saying all over the world, time heals all wounds. Yeah. And, think about like somebody in high school and you were like, oh, I'm going to fight that guy after school. I'm going to spread a rumor about that girl, and then 20 years later, you're like, what was her name? Yeah. It's just like things dissipate over time. Anger, feeling, hurt does dissipate. And then you start to look and be like, we don't get along, but look what we have. Look at this family we created. Let's make sure they have a great life and see a functional relationship. And then maybe we go get in 2 separate functional relationships rather than all these kids seeing a dysfunctional relationship for 12 years. So I hope that's where they get stuff.
You do a fantastic job of that.
Yeah,
that's why
you do
I wanted
so
you
well.
to speak on that, right?
Yeah, I try, and they have a great mom, and it's just like, I feel like we have a company, Our company is raising children. We don't have a relationship outside of work, and we work with people that we don't hang out with after work, but it shouldn't affect DBL.
Yeah.
That's right.
I love that. How difficult or how long was it? You said it was time. Like, how much time does something like that need?
Well, it depends on how it ends. I think, if it's abrupt, like you think your life is great, and then one person's like, hey, I'm marrying Jeff, see you later. And they're like, what? We're going to Paris next week. Some people are blindsided, so sometimes that never goes away. But if you guys know, like, the last 3 years have not been great.
Yeah.
This is not, and you got to have that. I think, it's still going to be painful and signed in the papers, but eventually you do want to get to a place, because we've seen relationships that just drag on, and you're like, can you please, take this relationship behind the barn and end this, because it's so depressing. It's like, go find somebody you both love. It's not with each other. It's depressing.
And I think it's tougher for Kim and Kanye, obviously, because they are our royals, right? So every day they're going to open their phone or turn on the TV, and it's like, Kim said this, Kanye said this, and it might not even be true, but then it just adds to the
news cycles.
I do think, though, as well, like, so he's like, you can't talk to me only for my security, but I've got full access to your house.
Yeah.
That's a bit unfair.
Listen, even if she's home, probably she wouldn't know he was there. Those mansions.
I guess so, yeah.
All right, coming up on DBL, imagine being homeless by choice and living out of your car, but still maintaining a huge social media presence. Tori is talking to one young woman who made that bold choice. And a very scary moment caught on camera. I haven't seen this yet. In a TV studio in South America. We'll explain. I'm not going to look. We'll explain what happens next.
Closed captioning provided by
If you're a parent of kids of a certain age, you've probably heard of Roblox, and now you could possibly cash in on your child's gaming obsession. Let's connect the dots. Roblox is an online platform for user-generated games. In fact, it is already the world's largest user-generated game site, attracting mostly tweens. It is free to play, but you do have to pull out the credit card to get the in-game currency called Robux. Thanks to the diversity of the games and the variety of devices you can play on, it was already popular. Then the pandemic hit. When children went into lockdown, Roblox exploded. Thanks in part to the fact that you could play with friends, but also because you could visit virtual theme parks, birthday parties, and even concerts. According to the New York Times, last year, over 32 million people a day logged onto the site, double the previous year. Now the company has gone public, letting parents buy a piece of their kids' favorite platform. But experts are offering a word of caution. With pandemic restrictions easing, gaming behavior may change. Roblox has a plan to attract new users by going after an international audience and older gamers. But it will take time to see if their popularity lasts post-pandemic.
Welcome back to DBL. Some scary moments caught on tape during a TV broadcast. So a piece of set fell on an ESPN host in Colombia, all on live TV. The wall I'm going to take a peek down at this when we run again. The wall crushes the man's face into the desk, but not to worry, guys. The host posted this video later explaining that he's okay. He got checked out and just suffered a bruise, not a broken nose. Could we run that video again one more time? I want to see
just a reaction too.
Oh, isn't that so bad?
Whoa, his neck like really snaps back.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those freak things where sometimes you look at something like that and it's tragic and you're like, oh, wrong place, wrong time. But we look at that and it's just like if he had turned his neck to a different angle, if he had been bending over to get something and it had really smashed his forehead, I mean,
oh my God.
It's just, that's one of the luckiest people I've ever seen on television.
Did you ever watch those videos my wife just happened to show me when we were laying in bed the other night of like near misses?
Yeah.
For some reason they're all
like ice
Eastern
falling
Europe.
off of buildings and
yes,
stuff
or like cars
that.
they're walking, it's like right by their nose, like
oh, yeah.
all these like near, like one more second and that might have been it for
that kind of stuff like gives me like the creeps, like, oh, but even watching that, like every time I gasp when I see it. Well, and I just find it really weird that it appears like his co-hosts just carry on. Like if a wall falls down on me on this show, I expect you guys to get it off me immediately, not just carry on the show.
Of course, but we were talking about this actually on the break. You could go to Al was recording it. This is totally behind the scenes stuff, but I was like, I don't want anything like that to happen, but if this fell over, I would use that as part of the show. I wouldn't go on with the show, but I think a lot of people get nervous in that situation and they freeze up and they go right to the camera instead of addressing like what's happening, right?
Yeah, people want you to just be honest. I'm telling you, as a stand-up, sometimes you'll just mess up a joke that you've told 100 times, but instead of just keep going, like I'll just stop and be like, the reason you guys didn't laugh at that is because I started with the punchline, and I called back to a joke I haven't told yet, so that made no sense, and the crowd laughed, and you move on.
Yeah.
But you addressed it, like that's what I just said made no sense.
It's relatable.
Being honest. Yeah, the more honest, the better.
Speaking of behind the scenes, oh, Brad's not here. I was going to get a shot of Michael Dean over there looking cute, flexing a little bit.
Oh, I love
We only have one.
Dean.
Oh, there you go. There you go. There's a little behind the
Look, he's
scenes.
over
There's Michael
there.
Dean starting to show. See, I like that behind the scenes stuff, but obviously we're a limited crew here because of COVID, but that's my favorite part of this business, man.
I love it.
We were saying because we always wanted to be on television and we were so curious, like what goes on, like how do they do it? What does a set look like? Because it always looks a bit different than you see it on your screen right now. There's always like all like the little hidden things that you don't see, and I always envision the size to be so different too.
Everything's smaller, right?
Yeah, everything's so much smaller than you think. You know, it's crazy.
Except for my ego. That's as big as it seems.
Coming up on DBL, she has 1 million TikTok followers, but no house. Meet Nikita Crump, who's homeless by choice. She tells Tori why she made that radical decision. Coming up.
has come once again to change our clocks. So how did daylight saving get started, and do we actually need it? Let's connect the dots. The idea of daylight saving has been around since the 1800s. Set the clocks forward in the summer so that evenings last longer, then set them back in the fall to see daylight earlier in the morning. It was widely considered the best way to do things until the energy crisis in the 1970s. Many countries along the equator decided to ditch daylight saving, but the experiment was widely unpopular in America. People hated waking up in the dark, going to work in the dark, and especially sending their kids to school in the dark. But in recent years, the push to leave the clocks alone has gained steam. Lawmakers in dozens of states point to public health and safety concerns like increased risks of heart attack and stroke linked to time shifts. And right now, there are 2 bills introduced this Congress that would make daylight saving time permanent. CNN reports both are stalled in a House committee.
Welcome back to DBL. 29-year-old social media star Nikita Crump is homeless by choice despite having a full-time job. She chooses to live in her car. Tori spoke with her earlier about her decision, but first, here's a look at Nikita's story.
Hello and welcome to the backseat of my car.
For many people, moving into the backseat of your car by choice doesn't make a lot of sense. But for Nikita Crump, it came down to cents, as in dollars and cents.
I couldn't afford to go out and get cheap food with friends. I was skipping meals to save money, and I was slowly and steadily going into debt.
She documents her experiences, the good, the bad, and everything in between on YouTube and on TikTok, where her quirky videos about daily life helped her gain 1 million followers.
Hey, what's up, guys? Me again. Still homeless. This is my morning and night routine COVID edition.
It's an unconventional decision during these extremely unconventional times.
So when I say I chose this, I did. I chose it, but it's not that simple.
Nikita, welcome to DBL. It is such an interesting and extreme move to decide to live in your car. I am fascinated by this.
I have a random airplane pillow, and I shoved that in one side.
Talk to me about why you decided to do that and how it actually has something to do with anxiety at the heart of that.
Well, in a nutshell, I had been struggling financially for months and just not being able to enjoy my life the way an average person could. So after enough months of dealing with a bunch of anxiety about that, I said, screw this. Let me simplify my bills and cut out the biggest one, which is obviously rent and utilities.
Now, you started living in your car before the pandemic hit. So I was wondering, what has been the biggest challenge living in the car during the lockdown?
Once there was orders to stay at home and I don't have a home, I felt like I had nowhere to go. I can't stay cooped up in my car all the time. And I rely on public places for showers and restrooms. So that didn't exist for me anymore.
Wow.
Very limited places that offered people to go inside. So I would have to plan when I would drink water so that I wouldn't need a restroom and go stand in line for 30 minutes to enter a Target to go use one.
Wow. Do you ever fear for your safety living in your vehicle?
Yeah, I definitely do. Most nights it is crossing my mind. If I hear someone around my vehicle, I'm wondering what they're up to. I'm wondering if they're noticing that I'm there. And I have a few times had people knock on my vehicle, and that is honestly very terrifying for me. Even if it is just security or something, it is very scary for me. I always think that somebody could be up to no good.
Okay, Nikita, you're kind of famous on TikTok, you got YouTube, you have a big social media following. So we gotta talk about that, okay?
Welcome to a new series of Nikita's Life Lessons.
Some of our viewers who are watching right now might criticize your choice. So I want you to have the floor to say, all right, what do you respond to people who think you're trivializing the real problem of homelessness by trying to make it, let's say, look cool, or trying to get followers on TikTok? The floor is yours to give your response to them.
They see that I'm happy today, I'm healthy, I'm living the way I would like to, aside from living in a car. They don't see what it was like for me before this. I was renting a very small room in a house. I did have a roof over my head, but again, I was really filled with anxiety. I was really not in a good mental place. And that struggle with money was really getting to me, enough so that I thought living in a car would be better than the way that I was living. That has turned out to be true.
Also, I just think this is a much more relatable story to a lot of people going through the pandemic, where mental health and anxiety of how to pay is so overwhelming that you might make that kind of sacrifice so that you can actually live your days without that burden. So I wish you all the best. Please stay safe and let us know how it all goes. We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
talking about how much of the current stimulus bill is actually related to COVID-19. Politicians like Congressman Ted Budd claim
with about 9% of it actually going to COVID, meaning 91% of it not even COVID related.
So let's verify. Is it true that 91% of the stimulus isn't COVID related? Our main sources to find out are the Congressional Budget Office, or CBO, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, and the bill itself, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. So there's a lot of political spin going on here. The term COVID related is broad. Does that mean actual spending on the vaccine and treatment? Or since the economy has been hurt by the disease, does that also include funds that help the economy recover? Well, politicians aren't really explaining what they mean. So let's take a look at the actual numbers. Right now, the bill is roughly $1.9 trillion. Of that, only about $265 billion, or 8.5%, is specifically listed for things like COVID testing, protective gear, treatments, vaccines, and distribution. That's 8.5% specifically for COVID-19, but that doesn't mean the rest of the bill isn't COVID related. The largest part of the bill is $420 billion in direct stimulus payments to individuals to help with financial struggles caused by the pandemic. Another $350 billion is going towards extending unemployment benefits for those who lost jobs or income during the pandemic, and about $130 billion is being used to help schools reopen safely. That's another $900 billion set aside because of COVID-19's effects on our economy, unemployment, and schools. Now, to be clear, there are some parts of this bill, including $110 billion to increase the child tax credit, that have been Democratic priorities before the pandemic. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget estimates the bill has at least $312 billion of policies that have little to do with the current crisis. But that's about 16% of the bill that's not related, not 91%. Bottom line, the claim that 91% of the stimulus bill is not COVID related is false.
DBL is all new every day.
Don't look at me like with that face, because I'm telling you how I feel.
I'm not buying his story. No, I'm just being honest. He's trying to get clout.
I'm gonna wear a 10-gallon hat.
Stick with us in 2021. We're gonna have a great year.
DBL. It is time for some sweet, sweet deals. Earlier, I showed my Jeff some amazing products. He lost his mind because the prices are unbelievable. Check it out. DBL Deal Blast presented by morningsave.com.
Oi, Steph, what do you have for us today?
Hey, Jeff, I'm here with some great products and deals that you are going to love. So first of all, I've got something that's going to give your home the much needed moisture during these colder months. It's the Boneco Large Room Top Fill Ultrasonic Cool Mist Humidifier. So it's intended for really large rooms up to 540 square feet, and you can easily control the output of the air with the turn of this control knob. Pretty snazzy. So normally it's as much as $160, but we've got it for $79, saving our viewers 51%. Next up, we've got something that will provide you with a heavenly sleeping experience. Look at this. It's the Beauty Sleep Hypoallergenic Quilted Mattress Pad Protector. This plush, siliconized fiber-filled mattress pads gives you a cozy feel and superior comfort against your skin, and it's constructed with a beautiful quilted diamond pattern, and we've got it in twin, full, queen, and king. So normally it's as much as $69, but we've got it for only $29, saving up to 58%, Jeff. Next up, I've got something that will make you relax after a long day at work. It is the Eternal Home Neck and Shoulder Shiatsu Massager with 38 modes. Now, normally this is as much as $80, but we've got it for only $29, saving DBL viewers 64%. Finally, Jeff, it's the Halo Power Cube all-in-one device charger. So you can power up your phone or any other USB device with this all-in-one power cube. Now, normally this is as much as $50, but we've got it for $15, saving 70%.
All right, Steph, amazing job. So everyone else can head on over to morningsave.com to snag these amazing deals at the lowest prices. You can even visit morningsave.com on your smartphone. Steph, how do you think I do at those?
Thought you were wonderful, actually. I loved your enthusiasm, and I know that you had your eye on some things there. I like that power cube charging up in your car.
See, I'm scared that you wanted that because that's what I wanted. So I was like, oh, are there going to be enough power cubes to go around?
I think we've got 3, so we can all have one each.
Power cube.
And yeah, when we were doing that, I think they cut it out because I was like, Steph, and I was like fumbling around. I'm like, do you put that in your cigarette lighter?
Oh, yeah, we were.
And everyone's like, dude, how old are you? They don't have cars.
Yeah, I was like, we don't smoke in the car anymore. Remember those buttons you used to press to light your cigarette?
What do you call it then? That you put it in? It's a power outlet.
I guess, but they just call it the power outlet.
But it's this where you put the cigarette.
But there's no cigarette.
There's no
ashtray anymore.
Well, that's why I need the back thing. I'm getting old. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place.